Ever feel like you're just talking at your creative AI? Well, today we're going to show you how to stop pleading with it and start producing it. We're going to put you in the director's chair, give you the mixing board, and help you get the exact results you want every single time.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You have this brilliant idea in your head, you type it into the prompt, and what you get back is, well, it's kind of generic. It's close, but it's not quite what you wanted. It honestly feels like you're trying to reason with a stubborn artist instead of directing a powerful tool. We're going to fix that right now.
So, the fundamental shift we need to make is right here on this slide. See, most people are using AI in what we could call story mode. They're treating it like a conversational partner, a collaborator, but to get really precise results, you need to switch it into production mode. Think of it less like a storyteller you're brainstorming with and more like a powerful, obedient engine that's just waiting for your exact commands. And that's really the promise here. We're going to give you the blueprint, the actual syntax to move from making these vague requests to giving precise, non-negotiable directions to your AI. So where do we start? With structure. Before you can get into all the fancy tricks, you need a solid architecture for your prompt, a kind of logical funnel for your ideas. And that's where the SCULP blueprint comes in.
Okay, and this right here, this is the golden rule of prompting. You have to understand an AI doesn't get it like a person does. It predicts what comes next based on what came just before. So the information you put first anchors its entire process. The stuff at the end gets its most recent attention. If you get the order wrong, you get chaos. But if you get it right, you get control.
And here's that order in action, the SCULPT method. Just think of it as your funnel of intent. You start broad by setting the role. Who is the AI supposed to be? Then you give it context. What's the situation? Then the user instruction. That's the actual task. You follow that with limitations, the guardrails. And you finish with presentation, how it should be formatted. This sequence just logically guides the AI from the big picture all the way down to the exact result you want. Okay, so we have our structure. Now for the actual controls. This is where we learn the specific syntax that turns your prompt from a simple request into a producer's mixing board. These are the silent commands that shape everything behind the scenes. Now listen up, because this slide right here, it contains probably the single most important concept for mastering this whole thing. Brackets are for the engineer. Think of them as silent commands, invisible instructions that change the environment but are not part of the final output. Parentheses, on the other hand, they're for the hype man. This is audible content like ad-libs or background vocals that are included in the output. One is for structure, the other is for texture. It's a huge difference. Let's look a little closer at these brackets. The best way to think of them is as state containers. The moment an AI sees an opening bracket, it stops everything. It stops singing, writing, speaking, and it just prepares to change the state of things. It knows, okay, whatever is inside here is an instruction for me, not a word to be said out loud. So, what kind of instructions can we give? Well, we can define the entire song structure with tags like verse or chorus. We can control the instruments, telling it to kick off a guitar solo or hit him with a bass drop. And we can even control the vocal delivery itself, demanding a whisper or a full-on scream. These are all invisible commands, just shaping the performance, right? But what if you want multiple commands at the same time? Here's a huge tip. Don't use a comma, it just confuses the AI. Instead, you use the pipe symbol. It acts as a hard separator. It basically tells the AI, stop reading this like a sentence and start checking off items from a list. It's a checklist, not a sentence. And you can really see the difference right here. The amateur way is vague, it's like you're pleading with the AI. But the pro way, that's a set of direct orders. You aren't asking for it to be heavy, you're commanding heavy distortion and a halftime tempo simultaneously. It's the difference between a suggestion and a blueprint. All right, so we've mastered this silent engineer. Now let's talk about the hype man. How do we add those essential human imperfections, the ad-libs and the textures that make a performance feel alive and not so robotic? This is where parentheses come in. Unlike brackets, anything you put inside parentheses is meant to be heard. It's the background layer, the ad-lib, the flavor. See, AI models, they tend to be mathematically perfect, which can sound a little sterile. Parentheses are your tool for injecting just the right amount of that human imperfection. And their role is absolutely crucial. Ad-libs aren't the main course. They're not the steak. They are the seasoning that brings out all the flavor. Without them, an AI's performance can feel really flat. But with them, you start to get depth, you get texture, you get personality. And you can be really strategic about this. You can use the echo to repeat a phrase for emphasis, something like, through the fire. You can use the commentary to add an emotional reaction, like, it's a lie. Or you can even create the conversation with a call and response dynamic, which forces the AI to break its own perfect rhythm. So, we've got our structure from Sculpt, we have our silent commands with brackets and pipes, and we've got our audible flavor with parentheses. Now let's combine all of them to create something truly complex and totally new. Check this out. This is a really cool advanced technique called the ghost voice. You can set a main vocal, let's say an aggressive male rap, and then you can tag an ad-lib inside parentheses with a totally different vocal style, like a female whisper. This creates this incredible, sophisticated texture. But, and you really got to pay attention to this part, it is crucial that you immediately use another bracket command to switch the voice back. If you don't, the AI will just get stuck in that ad-lib voice. Now, let's push this even further, because the real power of the syntax is creating what we call a perfect tag by stacking contradictory instructions. You can literally force the AI to fuse things that should not go together, like the moody vibe of dark jazz and the driving rhythm of reggaeton, to create something brand new. And just look at how this works. Every single one of these pipe-separated commands is a non-negotiable parameter. We are forcing a complex jazz time signature of 5/4, the classic sound of an upright bass, and some glitchy percussion to all coexist with a melodic rap vocal. The AI can't ignore any of them. It has to find a way to make them all true at the exact same time. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. This exact method was used to create a real track called Sueño Despierto, a genre the creators actually called industrial reggaeton noir. They successfully fused this complex, off-kilter jazz rhythm with a classic driving reggaeton beat, which just proves that these tools can produce tangible, honestly groundbreaking results. So there you have it. We've moved from that frustrating story mode into full-on production mode. We've learned how to architect our intent with Sculpt, and we've mastered the syntax of control, the engineer's brackets, and the hype man's parentheses. The mixing board is officially in your hands, so the only question left is, what are you going to create?